Uncle Ryan stuff. Assumptions. Thought about it the other day. I need to talk about assumptions. I don't know what I got to say about it, but I got something. Assumptions. It's something we all do, right? Assumptions. Uh, uh, I did a job and a computer job, and I had to use the random number generator that was provided by the mainframe, the computer. And I had written it, and everything was working, and I was spitting out data that would then go to the scientists and head of the project. And he came back to me and said, I'm saying the same data sort of over and over again. I said, but that can't be, because I'm using random generator to manipulate starting or end points of the analysis or something like that. And my assumption was there had to be something wrong with my code, because there couldn't be anything wrong with the computer's random number generator. And so I scrutinized and read and scrutinized, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I wrote a random number generator test to see if the computer was in fact doing random numbers. And it wasn't. And when I notified them, then they, it was an upgrade fix. But the assumption was that, there was no way that computer, with all the minds that put that thing together and everything, could not be creating random numbers. I mean, that was a given. That was 100% factual. But it was an assumption on my part. And a lot of things are assumption on our parts. Assumption and trust kind of go together, I guess. In one aspect, you assume that the mechanic is going to do exactly what he said he would do for the money that he said he would do it for. That's an assumption. You assume it to be true, but it is an assumption. The assumption is that an expert will know how to do it better than a do-it-yourselfer. There's probably some truth to that. I get into computer stuff. Artificial intelligence, one of the mechanisms is you assign a confidence level to what you consider to be a fact. Okay, the Beltway, and I think I've referenced this before, what is the traffic going to be? Is the traffic going to be heavy on the Beltway between 5 and 6 p.m. every day of the week? Is it a fact? No. It's an assumption based on your history with the thing, but I can assign a confidence level to it. I'm 90% sure that between 5 and 6 p.m. the Beltway is going to be a lot of traffic. It's an assumption, but it has a confidence level to it that says it's not absolutely a fact, the truth. Okay? Assumptions. I think the other day it occurred to me that we make assumptions in relationships. We assume something, how the other person is going to think, or we assume something about them. No, they don't want my help. No, I shouldn't even offer. They don't want my help. I know them, and I make an assumption based on some sort of history, I guess, with people in general, or perhaps this specific person. But thinking about it, and I pose this as a question, all assumptions, that's all is encompassing, and shouldn't use that word, but assumptions that we make about other people and our interaction with them, I think the predominance is we make an assumption that benefits us, it benefits us. We make an assumption, and it's biased. Does that other person want or need help? No. It's because you don't really want to offer it. You know, you really don't want to do it. So the assumption is that no, they don't need your help. The assumption is the other person attracted to me. The assumption can be yes. The assumption can be no. She would never talk to me, or he would never even give me a glance. He's out of my league. Assumption. Confidence level associated with it, well, your own experience has that whole thing about attraction, for instance. That's a nebulous sort of concept. Is someone attracted to me? And attracted means, I don't know, intellectually, sexually, in other words, I don't even know what they are. A whole nother realm, what attraction means. You know, I know what it means in the physics world. We have gravity, which attracts mass. It attracts mass. I think, and that's a question that you could pose yourself when you make assumptions with other people. Oh, this is going to be bad. You know, this is going to be bad. Or, geez, he really likes me a lot. You know, I should then modify my behavior based on that assumption. And how did the assumption develop with a new, unique individual? I'm not sure. That's a whole nother realm of, you know, reading people or something like that. I don't know. But we all make assumptions. And again, the question I'm posing that occurred to me, are all the assumptions we make about another person and our interaction with them, are they biased toward what we want it to be? You know? Well, I made the assumption you didn't want to be bothered with it. I made the assumption, well, I was doing this and I could have talked to you about it, but I just assumed you didn't care. Assumption. I just assumed you didn't care. Or I just assumed that it didn't matter anyway, so I go ahead. Assumptions, if I have a physical problem, a reality problem, like plumbing, for instance, my basic assumption is it's going to be hard. It's got to not leak, so there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I got to be real careful. But my primary assumption on that particular kind of problem is I don't want to do it. I don't like doing plumbing because it's got to be 100%. There can't be any 80% or 90%. It's got to be 100%. And there, if you think about it, there are very few things that have to be 100% when it's all done and said. I had a friend who said that he never did his brakes on his car because it's just such an important system that he didn't feel comfortable doing it. And I have the other assumption that I would rather do it myself than trust it to somebody else because it really is an important system. So we have different assumptions about, and again, it goes back to, you know, I have confidence and faith that this mechanic will do. He really cares about doing it correctly, and he will. That's the assumption that's made. It's like faith. Faith is, belief in a particular something or other. In this case, the outcome is the mechanic will do it up to snuff, and I will not have any trouble with the brakes, and because it's a safety issue, and I have faith in my mechanic. I have underlying assumption that he always does it correctly, not just now and then, but always. Assumptions. We all make assumptions. Come up to bat, you see the pitcher, you've faced him before, and all kinds of assumptions come into play. Well, he's going to try a fastball on me, or assumptions. Um, I don't know that I have a whole lot more to throw out. I think the main point was, and that's what got me thinking about it, was assumptions of other people. Are they in fact biased by what you want the potential interaction to be? Well, I didn't talk to him about it because I assumed he didn't care. Is that the assumption is based on, well, I just don't want to take time to talk to him, and he may not like, he'll say no. I was going to do this, and he'll say, but wait a minute. And so the assumption is he doesn't care, and that benefits you, not necessarily an accurate assumption for that particular interaction. We all make assumptions. I don't know if you're aware of your assumptions. I think I'm aware of most of them, but I do make, they pop in my head and it's labeled assumption. No, I don't think so. It's a something built out of experiences that you've had, and maybe it has a future component to it. You only will get assumptions only come out when you're facing something, and your experience tells you that this or that. And maybe behaviorally you have good reasons to think, well, he doesn't care, I'll just go ahead and do it. Or she has no interest in that. Or she's not going to do this. Sometimes they make false assumptions that maybe this time, maybe the assumption is, well, maybe this time. But my experience level says no. That's really hope. The assumption is a hope, not, it's hopes and assumptions. I hadn't even thought about that. What is your hopes? And do you have hopes all the time? If I sit down on a slot machine, I suddenly sit down with hope. I hope that the stars align correctly and the wheels line up and the random number generator works and it's going to kick out a super big fat winning combination. That's hope. My expectations, that's another term. Assumption. My assumption, however, is that I don't have a good assumption. It could do anything. That's my assumption on slot machines. It could do anything, but by and large, it's going to just eat money. I know that, but there's a hope component that comes into it. And maybe that's all assumptions have an aspect of hope associated with them. Hadn't thought about that. Complex combinations of various human thinking patterns or attributes. Assumptions. Political. The long-time assumption was that a politician, if you elected him, that his primary goal was to look out for his constituency. The people elect him. He would try to do good for them. And, they try to get their share of money that's being spent, so some of it that hopefully can get directed in the direction of their constituencies. But I've lost my experience over time is, unfortunately, politicians have become ruled by the master class of political parties. And that as much as you may enter Congress with constituency in mind, only if you play your party game can you ever hope to get anything for your constituencies or prevent something bad from happening to your constituencies. Example of that, and it's a side issue, was that the Department of Defense wanted to close various military installations around the country, and they're everywhere. And the smaller ones that had no need for that, they would consolidate a supply depot, and the infrastructure was better than that little thing out here. And so they submitted to Congress a list of all of the military installations they would like to close, and a money-saving initiative partly to do that. Good idea? No, wasn't a good idea. Every congressman, every senator did not want his constituencies to lose any of the military facilities that was in his district or state or whatever. No, because it would be a big economic impact. So if you played the party game, you could probably have one of the ones in your district ruled out as being closed. It depends how many friends you had and how many favors you've done for other people and so on. But anyway, that was truly a side issue. But the assumption was that they're there to help the constituencies, and I don't believe that's true anymore. That's my assumptions about politicians has changed over the time. I wish it were so. Assumptions. You have assumptions on all sorts of things, or belief. When you ride down the road and you pass over a huge bridge, you have belief, or you make an assumption it isn't going to fall down. It was built correctly by right people who knew what they were doing. And you have the belief or assumption. A belief and assumption the same thing? No, they're not. A belief is something different than an assumption. At least thinking about it now, it seems to be that way. Anyway, I already thrown in the word hope. Assumptions, beliefs, and hopes. They're all in the same section of the periodic table of human constructs. You divide up how you think into various words, like they have words for various feelings. Doom. You ever feel doom? Yeah. Hope as a construct. What was I even talking about? The word that I was even referring to was assumptions. I assume that I would remember that. But, and the other one was beliefs. Beliefs, keep forgetting the word, it's really weird. Hopes, beliefs, and assumptions. I should alphabetically put them. Anyway, the whole thing is, maybe you recognize your assumptions, maybe you don't. We do all make assumptions about various things. There was a fellow I worked with who was boating, and he dove off the side of the boat, and he wound up hitting the bottom and fracturing his spine, paralyzed. His assumption was that the water was deep enough that he could dive in. I don't know where he got that assumption from. Obviously it was wrong. I don't think it was a hope, and it was not a belief. I don't think it was a belief. I think it was an out-and-out assumption that the water would be deep enough that he could dive. If he had jumped in, he'd been fine, but he dove in, he hit the bottom, or he hit something submerged. I don't remember the exact details of the story, but I do remember the story, and I knew the guy. So it was kind of a horrible sort of imprint. One of my memories for sure. You know, and they tell you that. You don't dive in water which you don't know the depth of. They tell you that. I mean, maybe you've never heard that, but I'll pass it out to you. Don't do that. Don't dive in any water that you don't know that it's deep enough to support a dive. How deep is deep? It better be 6, 10, 15 feet deep. Don't dive in 3 feet of water. I've seen people do it successfully, but they did a really shallow dive, if you know what I mean. Assumptions. Assumptions can be totally wrong. Totally wrong. I don't know if we ever aware that we make a totally wrong assumption. I don't know if we ever change our assumptions. I did change my assumption about politicians, so I guess we could change them. But the whole aspect, and I'll show you the 3 components: assumptions, beliefs, hope. And there's probably 4 other aspects or attributes that combine together in some weird fashion to make even a 4th component that I don't even know what it's called. Anyway, that's enough today. This one's about assumptions, and it's I've been working on the computer trying to upgrade the memory and the CPU, and the memory is causing me trouble. And I had enough for a while of doing money talks, so I decided I'd do assumption. And maybe I'm done for the day. I don't know. Today is the 10th of November, 2023. Time's just flying by. And once more, I'll give the old thumbs up right there.